17 members and associates of the Hells Angels are facing criminal charges in a violent attack.
Federal agents allege the outlaws sold drugs, traded firearms, and engaged in insurance fraud and even tampered with government witnesses.
We have learned there is cell phone video as well as surveillance video of evidence in this attack.
The U.S. Attorney characterized today's raids as historic, the largest federal bust on organized criminal gang activity.
Retaliation is common for crimes involving biker gangs. However, it could happen anywhere because of how interconnected gangs have become nationwide.
The 3-year investigation resulted in 42 federal indictments on a variety of charges, including racketeering, money laundering, drugs, gambling, insurance fraud, and extortion.
There's a bunch of bikers up here, and they're shooting guns and stuff. I need the police now.
Play on foot going towards 2nd Street. Okay, receive.
Welcome to this episode of Biker Wars with Bill Staxx. Today, we're talking about the Bandido Massacre in Shedden, near Ontario. Well, it didn't happen in Shedden. It was like outside of Shedden, but 8 people were killed. This is one of the largest massacres of bikers ever. Especially in Canada. This is like unheard of. These are the 8 victims. And one of them was a prospect, the guy on the top right, the second in on the right, on the top, the little goatee and the bald head. He was a prospect. And they were all killed. And when we left off, before we get started, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you could get my videos every time they drop. We got a lot of great content on the way, and I'm here to bring you the best content on YouTube. So, let me give a couple of shout-outs. Maureen, how are you? Mickey Griggs, how are you, man? Shout out to you. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch this show. Got a lot of information for you guys. So, where we left off, they were arriving at the farm, the No Surrender crew. So, on the night of April 7th, 2006, a meeting at Callistine's farm. You remember Wayne Callistine is the one that set all this up. This is Wayne Callistine. He looks like a dick. So they were arriving at his farm, attended by 2 factions. Began about 10:30 p.m. when the No Surrender crew entered his barn. The barn was full of rusty machinery, old furniture, and children's toys, while its walls were decorated in pornographic photos of young women sitting on top of Harley-Davidson motorcycles and half dressed as construction workers, together with Callistine's usual Nazi propaganda. Callistine instructed his guest to stay in the middle, where he had cleared out some space. Sandam was standing in the rafters with his rifle, while Mushy, Mathers, and Arvina, and MH, they wouldn't name that guy, he was probably an informant in the case, were patrolling outside armed with rifles and shotguns. Gardiner listened to the police scanners inside Callistine's house. According to one version of the events, upon entering the barn, Louis Chopper Raspasso saw Sandam with his rifle, realizing that he had been betrayed, fired at him with a sawed-off shotgun. Sandam was only slightly injured as he was wearing a bulletproof vest. He returned fire and killed Rospero. However, Rospero's favorite gesture was giving the middle finger. And the autopsy revealed at the time of his death, Rospero's had raised his middle finger while the rest of his fingers were clenched into a fist. Sandam's bullet had gone through Rospero's raised finger, shattering it completely. Forensic evidence does not support Sandam's claim that Rospero had fired at him. And moreover, Sandam is a well-known pathological liar, not known for his willingness to take responsibility for his actions. It is not entirely clear on what happened, other than that Rospero was giving Sandam the finger at the time when Sandam used his skills at a marksman to put a bullet through it. Two of the No Surrender crew, Big Paulie Cipollone and Greg Cass Kakaratis, attempted to flee, but they were shot down, wounded by Calistine, who was armed with a handgun. Calistine shouted, "Everybody get on the floor. Nobody move. I'm here to pull your patches. This is being done by orders of the United States and the U.S. leadership of the Bandidos." The last hours of the No Surrender crew. Over the next 2 hours, Calistine frequently changed his mind about whether he was going to pull the patches or execute the No Surrender crew. And at a point, allowed Muscaderi to call his girlfriend, Nina Lee, on the phone, on his cell phone, provided he didn't say anything fucking stupid. Muscaderi told Lee, "How's the baby? I'll see you in a couple hours. I love you." The macho Muscaderi opted to be faithful to the outlaw biker code and never asked for help. Did not alert Lee to the imminent danger, instead asking how their daughter Alencia was doing. Calistine drank heavily over the course of the night and ranted on his prisoners about his grievances with them. Calistine pistol whipped Flans several times and told him, "I'm saving you for last, you fucking blank." Caracas, who was wounded in the thigh, prayed to God and asked that his captors to spare him, as his family would miss him and he had a wife that he loved back home. But he was told to shut up, as Caracas prayed in Greek while Cipollone cried, saying he never wanted to come to Calistine's farm, which led to both men being told by another prisoner, Francisco Frank the Bammer Salerno, "We're bikers. We're bikers. We're not fucking Boy Scouts. Stop your whining." Several times, Calistine asked Muscaderi to, despite the way he was attempting to dispose him as national president. But he firmly declined, instead asking that an ambulance be called for Cipollone and Caracas, who were bleeding to death. Muscaderi also defended Flans against charges of being disloyal. Calistine was an admirer of Nazi Germany and had issues with the Jewish Flans. Finally, Calistine decided to execute the No Surrender crew, and they were all taken out one by one, execution style, in what Ontario Court of Appeals described as an execution assembly line. At about midnight, Constable Perry Graham of the OPP was doing a nightly patrol around the countryside in his cruiser. He ran into the surveillance team because, if you remember from yesterday, There was a surveillance team that followed the No Surrender crew all the way to this farm. Here's a picture of the farm. They followed a surveillance crew. A team of detectives followed the No Surrender crew. This is the No Surrender crew. They followed them all the way to the farm, and they were outside down the road when all this was taking place. They ran into the surveillance team sitting on the wooded lane in the dark and asked them what they were doing. He learned that they were investigating the murder of Douse. At about 12:30 a.m., the surveillance team went home, having noticed nothing. As the men were marched out and shot, Calistine, who was drinking very heavily that night, danced a jig while singing Das Dutch Sackland. Between dancing his jig while singing an anthem and executing his prisoners, Calistine would go over to torment Fons. Realizing he was doomed, Muscaderi stated, do me first. I want to go like a man." A police wiretap recorded Mushy told out of Varna about Muscaderi's execution. The guy, he went out like a man. He laughed. He went like a man. Calistine personally executed Muscaderi, who he had once been his friend. Muscaderi was marched out of the barn and forced to sit in his car, and then he was shot in the head point blank range, followed by another shot to his chest. The next to be killed was Caracas, who prayed in Greek as he went out and was shot. Mushy, speaking to MH some weeks later, was unaware that the latter was wearing a wire. He said he was surprised by how much Caracas cried as he was marched out and shot, saying he expected his fellow outlaw biker to be tougher. George Pony Jessam went out next, not saying a word. Cipollone was taken out to be shot, crying and screaming hysterically, saying he really had wished that he had not attended this meeting as he didn't want to. Cipollone was shot, but survived while Calistine's gun jammed. Aravana then had to fetch Calistine another gun, which he used to finish off Cipollone, who had been left bleeding in a great pain. Flan and another of the No Surrender crew, Mikey, Little Michael Trattora, were ordered to clean up the blood on the ground using bleach. At this point, Calistine began to rant about how he was such a hard worker and he was doing such a great job killing the No Surrender crew, who were not thankful for his hard work, as he expected them to appreciate his work in killing them. Calistine went in and out of the barn with the prisoners to kill. None of his colleagues, the majority of whom had guns, made any effort to free the prisoners or to shoot Calistine, though they all claimed that at trial they wanted to stop Calistine. Even those who didn't have guns, like Gardner, could have called the police, as all the farm crew had cell phones with them, or access to a phone, but none did. Gardner had a telephone right next to him as he listened to the police scanners, but he never called the police, as he wanted to be full patch Bandido. One of the killers, who later turned Crown's evidence, I guess that's what they call it when you snitch when you're in Canada, he turned Crown's evidence, known as MH. So he's the rat in the case. They call him MH. They don't say his real name. Stated one of the victims, Frank Bammer Salerno, tried to shake his hand, with MH testifying in 2009. Bammer went to shake his hand. I didn't do it. The white did. Salerno also tried to shake Arviana's hand, but was declined, saying, "I'm not shaking your hand." As Salerno was marched out to be shot, his last words to his killer were to think of his newly born son, Mario. Flans was shot last in order to ensure that he would suffer the most, because as he was Jewish and he talked about his children, he waited for his time to die. Trattora was taken out to be shot, not saying a word, and finally Flans was killed. Gardiner moved the children's toys from the back of Trattora's Grand Prix to make room for Flans, while MH, Averna, Mushy, and Mathers watched. By this point, Calistine was too drunk to kill Flans. Instead, Sandam had shot him in the head. Sandam was too nervous to aim properly despite shooting at point-blank range. Flans was still alive after Sandam shot him. As Flans looked up with a saddened expression, as if begging with his eyes to save his life, Sandam could not bring himself to kill him, claiming his gun jammed. Finally, Mushy, who was a more experienced killer than Sandam, took the gun and proved it was not jammed by finishing off Flans with another shot to the head. And then they go to disposing of them. Afterwards, Calistine ordered the bodies to be placed in the vehicles. Nobody wanted to drive Muscaderi's car with his body in the driver's seat. The entire front seat was soaked in blood, so the car was attached to Jessum's tow truck. So they had a tow truck with them when all this was taking place. And they towed one of the cars. Cipolloni's obese corpse did not fit properly into the trunk of the SUV that it was packed into, with the other corpses nearly rolled out several times during the trip up the 401 highway. Mushy, who drove Trattora's Pontiac Grand Prix, complained that the car was full of toys belonging to his daughter, which he had cleared to make room for the corpses. Calistine had planned to take the bodies up to the 401 and dump them in Clincher, which is known for its stronghold of Hell's Angels. So his plan was he was going to make this look like the Hell's Angels did it, out of the belief that the police would blame them for this situation. But they did not buy enough gas for the trip, forcing the killers to abort the trip. The bodies were dumped in a farm field chosen at random, only because they couldn't go any farther up the 401. Mathers, who was driving Flans Infinity, reported that the vehicle was almost out of gas. It turned into a farmer's field, the Stafford line, where the Stafford line meets the 401 highway. The bodies in the vehicles dumped in the farmer's field were not burned because the killers were too cheap to buy gasoline to set them on fire. Calistine, who remained at his farm, was surprised when the farm crew returned after about a half hour, asking, how fucking far did you guys go? I thought I told you to take them all the way to Clincher. Afterwards, the farm crew went to work, destroying the evidence, burning some of the items that belonged to the victims while keeping some for themselves. Edwards stated, I don't think Calistine would have been that dangerous that night if it wasn't for Sandam, the cop. They needed Sandam's ambition and Calistine's craziness. Now, next is the investigation. At about 7:45 a.m. on the 8th of April 2006, a farmer, Russell Steele, and his wife, Mary, received a phone call from another farmer, Forbes Bolham, saying that there was vehicles parked in their cornfield. Steeles went to investigate. Upon seeing the corpses, called police. Muscaderi's girlfriend, Nina Lee, called Calistine at about 8 a.m. to ask where her boyfriend was, and he was told that he had just left. Both Aravana and Gardner were promoted up to Bandido's ranks, and Gardner chose to stay with Calistine at the farm. Sandam and the rest of the Winnipeg Bandidos left Calistine's farm later that morning. The road trip back to Winnipeg was an unhappy one, with Mushy calling Sandam a pussy for being able to finish off Flans. Aravera kept seeking assurance from Mushy, saying he would not kill him. Sandam, being more confident, conceded than ever, and MH already considering turning Crown's evidence, or ratting as they would say in the United States. So they call it ratting. It's called turning Crown's evidence. Yo, I heard you were turning Crown's evidence. The security cameras at Walmart in Bernie showed between 10:21 and 10:53 a.m. the Winnipeg Bandidos were in the store, with MH later testifying that Mushy told the other Bandidos that they should buy some Head and Shoulders shampoo, in which he assured them it was the best shampoo for removing gunpowder residue. As the victims were last seen alive entering Calistine's farm, and the bodies were found so close to his farm, he was considered the prime suspect right from the start. The same day the bodies were found, detectives Inspector Paul Beasley of the OPP, who was in charge of the investigation, said a judge had asked the judge for a search warrant to search Calistine's farm. At about 3:05 p.m., two of Calistine's friends, Kerry Morris and Eric Neeson, arrived at his farm to help him destroy evidence and to discuss an alibi that they were planning to give him. The alibi was for Neeson and Morris had spent the night of the 7th of April drinking beer with Calistine at his farmhouse. And that was all that happened there that night. The police had stationed cars to observe Morris and Neeson helping Calistine clean his barn. Soon after Calistine is arrested, the discovery of the bodies caused a media frenzy in Toronto. Toronto media blamed the Hells Angels at once. Edwards stated, right after the killings, I phoned a Hells Angel member and said, don't you guys have anything to do with this? And he said, what could we take from them? They don't have two nickels to rub together. And it turned out it was true. They really didn't have anything to steal. And so there was no point to that. He talked later to a Hell's Angel, and he said, "It was a great day when you wake up and your enemies have killed each other." Around the world, the massacre attracted attention, making the front pages of London Times, Sydney Morning Herald, the Irish Examiner, and the Daily Press. Both CNN and Fox News sent news teams to Shedden to cover what the media took to refer as the Shedden Massacre. The phrase Shedden Massacre caused much chagrin to the residents, as Shedden, who complained that their hamlet, what the hell's a hamlet? That must be a neighborhood or something, had nothing to do with the massacre. On the Bandidos website in Houston, no message of condolences were posted, and messages of condolence that were left by visitors were promptly deleted. Upon returning to Winnipeg, Sandem, who was ambitious as ever, started sending emails to Houston. He was designated in Palestine as a loose cannon, demanding to be made Bandido's national president instead. In a typical email full of gushing praise for the Bandidos way, Sandem wrote, "The Brotherhood means everything to me, and to wear the best colors in the world is a great honor for me." In the meantime, Palestine was arrested and charged with first-degree murder on the evening of the 9th of April 2006 because Neeson and Morris gave Palestine an alibi, saying they were at his farm at the night of the killings. They were also charged with first-degree murder, much to their own shock, as they never expected that lying to the police would have such consequences. When the couple were arrested for the murder, Morris screamed, "What?" over and over again. Mathers and Gardner also were arrested with Palestine and charged with first-degree murder. Searching Palestine's farm, police found evidence that guns had recently been cut down at a vice in his workshop, but they found no murder weapons, which caused Beasley much concern. The Winnipeg police station started following Sandem after his return, and on the afternoon of the 10th of April 2006, Constable Grant Gowlett observed Sandem taking his Blazer to the car wash to have his interior of his vehicle cleaned. On the 14th of April 2006, MH met with Constable Timothy Dillack, who told him the police knew he was involved with the massacre and he could either turn crown evidence or go to prison for the rest of his life. On the 15th of April, Sandem was observed having his tires of his vehicles removed, with Sandem dumping his old tires on the side of a remote countryside road. An examination revealed the tires of Sandem had just abandoned on the countryside road matched the tires prints found on Palestine's farm. The next day, MH met with Diak, the constable, where he demanded $750,000 in immunity, testifying against the others. Eventually, it was agreed that MH would receive total immunity and $1,300 per month for the rest of his life, and rent-free for the rest of his life. In exchange, he would wear a wire and turn Crown's evidence. MH wore a wire starting from the early May 2006 at the meetings with Mushy and Aravera, and later greatly pleased to become a Bandido prospect, which allowed him to wear the Bandido's patch. However, the fat Mexican that Herrera wore had been sewed on by his mother rather than supplied by Houston. The massacre's forensic investigation had begun on Callistine's farm, and by May, police have found in the fireplace the charred keys to the house and apartment of the Shedden 8 murder victims, and a partially burnt business card reading ONICO, the name of Flan's computer company. On the 24th of May 2006, Constable Al Duerbo discovered under Callistine's microwave a secret doorway that police found Callistine's gun cache. Durbo called Beasley and found 18 guns in Callistine's cache. Ballistic tests showed that some of the guns found in the cache were the murder weapons. On one of the handguns, and a Mossberg was found with microscopic traces of blood, and DNA testing showed it came from Flans, Caracas, Ciponi, Jessam, and Salerno. While the other handgun, a High Point 380, had microscopic blood traces from Trotta and Ciparoni. On the floor of Callistine's barn, they found soaked hydroponic acid, Callistine's wet work kit. Inside Callistine's farmhouse, police found a ring that had skin flakes embedded in it. DNA testing showed the skin came from Flans. Police also found a baseball cap in the farmhouse that had hair on it, which DNA revealed it came from Caracas. As an undercover agent, MH began to speak with Mushy and Rivera about the massacre while wearing the wire, and found it was easy to get Mushy to start talking by telling him that Sandam was boasting about the killing 3 of the 8 men in the underworld circles, which led Mushy to say that Sandam had killed only Rospero and botched the killing of Flans. Shit's getting deep. So Sandam became involved in a feud with Perry Aragon over who the right to be Bandido's national president. The feud ended with Sandam being expelled from the Bandidos on the 6th of June 2006. At the same time, Mary Thompson, who was full of guilt by not doing anything to save Dowse's life, told OPP that the truth about the murder of Dowse. Now, Dowse is someone who was killed before all this happened. Told the truth about Dowse and Brown. Quinn, Acorn, and Aragon all were arrested for his murder, June 2006. Acorn was in prison, and Brown was in the Lindsay jail awaiting charges for the other offenses at the time of their arrest. Aragon was arrested on the streets of Claplin Avenue in Toronto on the 21st of June, and Quinn was arrested on the 26th of June in Nelson, British Columbia. So again, I'm going to show you more of the interrogation video of Callistine. Let me find it real quick. Here's one video. Here it is.
How'd you get hooked up with Ken?
Someone recommended him.
I see. All right, well.
I don't think I need to call him, to tell you the truth. I think in about another half hour, you're either A, going to charge me, or B, release me. I won't take it more than that.
Hey, Spiders Club Life, what's up, man? How are
long
you?
can you hold me before you
Pup Pass, what's going on? Thank you for joining me today.
I have some questions I want to ask you.
Okay. Maureen, Mark, what's good, Mark?
How long can you hold me?
Thank you guys for joining me. The Bronx, what's good, man?
Okay.
And I'm free to go.
Thanks for joining us. The
I
Bronx.
suppose technically you could.
I'm safer here. I'll just go to bed and lay down and go to sleep.
All right.
Look at me. I look like shit to you.
I think I actually look good.
So we seen this yesterday. I'm going to fast forward it. If you want to watch some of the old stuff from yesterday, go check it out.
Why don't we try to refresh the brain and kickstart it?
Yeah.
Coffee and 3 sugars and 3 bars, triple. And, do I not look like I'm dead tired of you? I'm burnt out? Serious.
I wasn't lying to you before, bud. I've seen you look worse. Maybe maybe you're tired a lot. I'm not sure, but
No, I'm not tired a lot.
Well, that's actually true because I have called at noon before and got you to bed, so I believe you.
Shh, don't tell that.
All right, sorry about that.
If I remember. Where's
So 2 days ago was Friday. Did you go to the bingo hall?
Oh, that was stupid, wasn't it? Oh, come on, buddy. You know where I've been. Just ask the people who are watching me. You know where I've gone. You know, like fuck. I believe, honestly, that I'm being held here while you search my house. Stall. I haven't been charged with anything. I honestly believe, I'm not going to be charged with anything. Honestly. I honestly believe that when they're done ripping my house, it's a major fucking cleanup to do. Honestly. I always remember dates. I'm good with dates. I'm good with numbers usually.
I don't think you're going back to your house, buddy.
Brutal. I said I'm brutal.
Yeah.
But I do remember what I did on Friday, Wayne.
That's funny. Sometimes I forget people's names. And it's embarrassing when you meet them, because I don't know what to call them. Hey, buddy.
Bud, guy, pal.
And I can ramble off regimental serial numbers, social insurance numbers, old WOHIP numbers, driver's license numbers, fingerprint identification numbers, stuff like that.
Mm. People's.
If you want to see some crime scene photos, they're on Patreon for free. Go check it out. And if you want to join Patreon, be my guest. You'll see exclusive content over there. You can go check out the crime scene photos. There's only a couple, but you could see all the photos that I have involved. I will get more, but they will be on Patreon. You can see exclusive content only on Patreon. You can't put it on YouTube. I got some crazy stuff to tell you after this.
Memories remember different things.
Yeah.
They work in different ways.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And I think I remember distinctly telling you, this will be the 4th time. I've said more to you than I've ever said to anybody in my life.
Well, maybe you remember that, maybe you won't.
56 years old. And this conversation I've had with you is the longest I've ever had with a police officer in my life.
Tell me what you did Friday, Wayne. How hard is that?
Oh, fuck. That Friday was yesterday.
Well, tell me what you did yesterday then. We'll start there.
Dried bear. Lots of it. And the day before.
So, okay.
And the day before. So don't tell me I was up for 3 fucking days drinking. Partying. Sunday. That's why I feel so fucking shitty. I have a suggestion for you.
Get you a coffee?
That'd probably be a marvelous thing.
Okay.
And
I've went over
charged
what you can do.
with anything.
Exactly.
So I'm free to go.
Wayne, did you?
anytime I want.
Okay, how about this? Did you murder these 8 people? How's that for a question?
That's a dumb fucking question. How can you
All
say
right,
that to
well-
me? How the fuck can you say that to me?
Because I'm here and I've given you an opportunity.
So listen, if he's free to go, why isn't he just getting up and walking out of there? Why would you sit there and just let the cops keep questioning you? Why wouldn't you just get up and walk out? You see, people love the attention, I think.
To tell me what you did Friday and Saturday. Help yourself. I've done that. And you told me you can't remember. Now, if you can't remember,
No, I can remember everything.
Okay.
Fucking, how can you do that?
when you know what I'm trying to do, hear me out before you speak, okay? As somebody that you've known, trusted, and we've grown to respect each other, what I'm telling you is, you said,
I can't believe you asked me that.
well, why do you think I asked that? And what I'm trying to do, as somebody that has known you, is I'm trying to say to you, Wayne, wake up and appreciate the gravity, the seriousness of the situation, okay?
I don't think I'm in any trouble.
Well, then prove it to me. I'm not here.
I don't have to prove anything. You do.
Well, okay, well, you're absolutely right about that.
I don't have to prove anything. I don't
Well,
have to say anything.
Wayne, you know...
All I gotta do is sit here until you guys are done ripping my house apart. And I gotta go home and I have to bury some friends, obviously. So that's what I have to do.
Well,
So, this...
Bury some friends.
Done
He has
with
to
my
go
house.
home and bury some friends when he's the one that killed.
Apart, I'll go home. Bury
Crazy.
some friends. Oh, yeah.
all right. Now you're sitting here, and you got 8 dead people that you knew 10 minutes from your house. Tell me...
You think I'm that fucking stupid? Or something like that? Come on, fucking...
Then tell me.
I'm not gonna dignify and answer that. That's what you believe. Charge me.
Did I say I believed it? I said I'm giving you an opportunity, Wayne.
Waste all your time and effort on me, and then I can't believe this.
Well, you haven't told me that somebody else did it.
You know what? I won't.
Do you think that's a smart move right now, Wayne?
I don't care.
You know,
I won't. I wouldn't try anybody off.
I mean, what we have here, being a rat, as you say, is over here. All I want to know is what you did on Friday. I mean, that's way over here.
Yeah.
That's a long way from being a rat, Wayne. You know?
Yeah.
You know, you got to understand the situation a bit too, you know? Like I said, I feel like I'm sitting here talking to a friend. What did you do Friday? That's not a tough question, Wayne. And you
got high.
Drank beer, got high.
Yeah.
All right. And that's, if you were afraid to tell me that because you got high, I mean, Christ, you think I'd give a shit if you got high? I mean, come
I'm a
on.
bit of a hypocrite, aren't I? I'm a bit of a hypocrite, aren't I?
What?
I'm a hypocrite. I put down
I missed
drugs.
that.
I don't like people that
All right.
do drugs.
I get you now, yeah.
I'm always putting down people that are fucking drug addicts. And I've got it in front of, yeah. So, that's what I did.
Okay. You know, I need some a little bit more than that. What time do you wake up? Friday morning. Let's go to Friday morning.
Actually, I didn't sleep Friday. I didn't sleep Thursday.
So you didn't go to bed Thursday night.
When did what day is today? You said today's Sunday.
Today's Sunday.
So I got a bit of sleep. A bit of sleep. I say a bit of sleep. And just, well, I say last night. Okay. I've been up partying.
Okay.
So that's why I keep asking. I look like fucking shit. Being. Thinking, So, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you never slept Thursday night. So you're partying Thursday night.
Thursday
as well.
and Friday, and I thought today was Saturday. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. You know what?
So
What are we making with that coffee?
I've sent.
So we'll bring this back again. We'll do a part 3. We got some other stuff to talk about. So there was a police officer who was arrested for dealing with the mafia. He has been convicted. And we have some other information. Dirtbag Gene Barillo is at it again, beating his girlfriend. Are we not surprised? Are we surprised or are we not surprised? I don't think we're too surprised, are we? So there's a new video. Let's take a look.
No. I want to see what. No. No. I want to see what. No. No. I want to see what. No. No. I want to see what.
So that's what Gene Barillo's been up to. What do you guys think of that? Huh? He just never quits, huh? He just loves prison, I guess. Because that's going to end up right back there. It's his own damn fault. Stupid motherfucker. So, this guy's name is Hector Rosario. Rosario. He's a detective with the New York City Police Department. And he was arrested a while back for dealing with the mafia. And we're going to talk about that. Let me just get the story. And I love the way these guys got these smug look on their fucking face when they go walking into the courthouse. And their asses get convicted. And that smug look probably is gone, right? This guy. So this guy, former Nassau County detective who moonlighted with the mafia, is convicted. The assessment carried a lot of risk and not much reward. Long Island detective would try to shut down a illegal gambling operation, run out of back rooms and shoe repair stores, a cafe, and a chess club. The work netted him around $8,000, but his employer wasn't the police. It was the Bonanno crime family, in which paid him to target franchises of rival families. On Wednesday, the risk was realized. Federal jury in Brooklyn found former Nassau County detective Hector Rosario guilty of lying to authorities about his knowledge of illegal gambling schemes. Jurors acquitted him on charges of obstruction of justice. The U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District of New York said in a statement that Mr. Rosario had eroded trust in law enforcement. His corrupt detective chose to prove his loyalty to the organized crime family over the public he has sworn to protect. Mr. Rosario, who wore blue suit and an orange tie, did not change the expression when the foreman read the verdict. When asked for a comment after the trial, Mr. Rosario only said, "In the future." Mr. Rosario faces up to 5 years in prison when Judge Eric N. Vadaletto sentences him. Mr. Rosario, who remains out on bail, would have faced an additional 20 years if he had been convicted of obstructing justice. A sentencing date has not yet been set. How is that? How is a sentencing date not yet been set? We're glad that the jury acquitted him on obstruction. It is a relief that they did, said Mr. Rosario's lawyer, Mr. Friedman. He planned to appeal Mr. Rosario's conviction for lying to the FBI. In 2022, prosecutors of the Eastern District indicted Mr. Rosario and 8 members and associates of the Bandido and Genovese crime families. After a years-long investigation into racketeering and illegal gambling on Long Island, Mr. Rosario, who was fired by the Nassau County Police Department shortly after his indictment, was the only defendant who did not accept a plea deal in this case, and he went to trial. So everyone else took a plea bargain. Mr. Rosario, prosecutor said, was a loyal enforcer for the Bandido family business directives. Chief among them, push to quash the competition, illegal gambling operation run by rival families. Key witness testimony helped support the prosecutor's argument that Mr. Rosario had lied about having knowledge of the illegal gambling activities and of certain people, the venues involved in the scheme. The trial was embodied the diminished power of organized crime families in the region. Beginning in the 80s and 90s, prosecutors in the Eastern District decimated the 5 major families: Bandido, Genovese, Gambino, Lucchese, and Colombo, with cases against their leaders. Now the families once made their money by dominating large union and industries in the Northeast. They are dabbing in smaller criminal ventures. The district prosecutor described the illegal gambling schemes as lucrative, with profits from one of the establishments exceeding $10,000 per week. But Mr. Rosario cut was meager. He only made $8,000. Setting of legal activities, card tables, and a handful of computerized gambling machines squirreled away in the back of small businesses was a small cry from the mafia's yesteryear. During a week-long trial, prosecutors focused on Rosario's involvement with the mafia to build the case that he lied to federal investigators to protect the Bandidos. They played recordings of Rosario speaking with mob figures, popped up posters that depicted family tree of different crime families, and displayed payment ledgers to show the jury the seedy Long Island underworld that Mr. Rosario had entered. They called on the mafia members and law enforcement officials to illustrate his protection of the Bandido crime family. According to prosecutors, Bandido, the Genovese families agreed to share profits from illegal gambling at the Gren Calf, a gelato shop in Lenbrook on Long Island, following a bitter dispute. But the Bandidos still weren't happy with the arrangement and believed the Genovese family were eating into their profits. Salvatore Russo, the Bandido associate, devised a plan for Mr. Rosario to launch fake police raids on Sal's shoe repair, which was run by the Genovese crime family nearby town of Merrick. On one chilly spring night in 2013, Rosario and two associates in police jackets with badges dangling from their necks drove a white van to the shoe store, barged in, according to witnesses. Mr. Rosario directed one of his colleagues to destroy a gambling machine, which they did by smashing it with a flashlight, but did not seize any of the items from the store. The store owner and namesake Sal Rubino testified that he had seen Mr. Rosario bust in, and Mr. Rubino, also known as Sal the Shoemaker, said something was not right when Mr. Rosario did not confiscate anything, asked for identification, or leave in a squad car. They weren't real police that night, said the U.S. District Attorney. Then there was Domino Zumo, a soldier with the Bandido family, who testified against Mr. Rosario. After he and Russo were charged with selling cocaine out of the gelato store in 2017, Mr. Zumo described under oath how he had been initiated into the crime family, pricking his finger and dripping blood onto a picture of a saint. The plan was for Mr. Rosario to go in there, the shoe repair shop, and to intimidate them in hopes that he would close down. Mr. Zumo testified the charges that Mr. Rosario lied centered around the FBI interview that morning of January 7, 2020. That day, around 7:30 a.m., agents knocked on the door of his apartment in Malonia, New York. Speaking in the hallway outside the apartment, Rosario denied any knowledge of the family's illegal gambling ventures, including one of Sal's shoe repair, according to testimony from an agent. Prosecutors presented other evidence during the trial that suggested Rosario had protected the Bandido crime family and played recordings of conversations between Mr. Rosario and Russo, including one in which Mr. Rosario warned Mr. Russo about being surveilled by the authorities. Mr. Zumo testified that Rosario had showed up at his house to warn him that he was under investigation. Mr. Rosario's lawyer repeatedly argued that the jury that it could not trust the government star witness who had been on the mob's payroll. You cannot convict our client on the word of 3 convicted members of the mafia, he said during closing arguments. The jurors deliberated for more than 9 hours and over 2 days, and they submitted notes to the court to suggest skepticism. In particular, the jurors seemed conflicted about whether Rosario had interfered with a grand jury investigation, and had argued Rosario had not known about such investigation. More people testified about Mr. Rosario's attempts to quash the Bandido family competition. John Clinton, Nassau County detective, testified in 2014 that Mr. Rosario told him that he had known about crimes by the Genovese and Gambino families. But when Mr. Clinton pressed him, Rosario didn't offer any details. Mr. Rosario conducted other raids but didn't find such success. Mr. Russo, who said he was in charge of paying Mr. Rosario, testified that he had paid Rosario up to $8,000 for the visits. But the sum stood to increase when Rosario showed up to close the Grand Cafe. Mr. Russo had promised Rosario a weekly salary between $1,000 and $1,500 if he succeeded in shutting down the shop in a competing store, making more money. The Grand Cafe stayed open, however. Rosario received just a single payment of $500. And that's that. He's about to go to prison. So, not too bright. But anyway, no, he just got convicted. Maybe it's old when he got arrested, but he just got convicted. So, but anyway, I appreciate you. Yeah, this story is almost it's 19 years old. Matter of fact, on the 6th, it will be 19 years old. Live in London, Kensington, closer to Ontario, over near London, about 30 minutes west of London. But anyway, I appreciate everyone for taking the time to watch the show. There's a lot of content on the way. Tonight, I got a good show for you guys. Tonight, we're going to do Miklo 1%er.
This is Miklo 1%er, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Don't want to miss it. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, you already know what to do. Start your own fucking podcast. I appreciate all you guys. And remember, don't be a bitch.
And all new at 5, a major organized crime bust. 23 people under arrest now accused of stealing guns and cash.
Today, police revealed 4 organized crime groups are wreaking havoc.
From aggravated robbery to kidnapping, burglary, and more. Let's take a look at this. New pictures from court documents in this case. These are a few of the people who have been charged. And investigators say the money, tens of thousands of dollars, is all stolen.